Welcome to Provisioning Data. My name is Michael Kraut, and I'm with Idea Dudes. If you have any questions or comments, you can put them at the bottom of the video. Let's get started. You're going to learn about planning and implementing a shared folder structure and enhanced availability. Because DFS, that's what it does. What it allows us to do is be able to provide multiple servers with this same share on it, which are going to be called targets. We're going to talk about creating a DFS namespace. Also, standalone versus domain namespace. And also the namespace mode. We'll also be looking at tuning DFS and configuring DFSR. Now, there's going to be a lot of demos in here, so I think you'll like this module. So make sure you take notes, and remember, you can always go back and run this module again and watch the demos again. So what is a distributed file system? What it is it provides a fault tolerance access for geographically dispersed files. Windows Server 2008 uses DFSR to provide a replication protocol. Now the thing is we did have this in Windows Server 2003. What has happened has been improved on because now we have DFSR, which is Distributed File Services Replication. And it uses remote differential compression. And what that does is allows us to be able to, when we make changes, it's going to replicate only the changes. So remote differential compression replicates only the changes. DFS Technologies, we have the namespace, which provides a virtual view. So what you'll do is you'll use the UNC, whack, the server, whack, and whatever the share is, the share name. And that's going to be our actual namespace. Then we have DFS Replication, which provides the high availability and the fault tolerance to the files and folders. Because what we're going to have is we're going to have a replication topology. And the topology is just the map saying, hey, this is which server that the information is supposed to go to. And then we have remote differential compression, which provides the compression technology that's optimized for data transfer over limited bandwidths, because all it does is going to replicate the things that have changed. And that's the big thing about DFSR. So how does DFS namespace and DFS replication work? Well, we have New York over here, and we have London. We have these users, and they want to have access to the marketing documents. Now, the marketing documents also has some folder targets of project docs. Now, these project docs are actually located on the New York and London servers. The one that is closest is how it's going to be connected. So we're going to connect to the actual DFS namespace, but the client is going to connect to its local server. So New York is to New York and London is to London. So what happens if New York is not available? Well, then what will happen is it'll be referred to the London until the New York comes back up, because it has the same content through the replication. So what are some of the DFS scenarios? Well, you can share files across a branch office, which is called a hub site. So you have the hub, which is going to be the central point of communications. And then we'll have a bunch of branch offices. It's called a hub and spoke. You have to have at least 3 or more to be able to provide a hub spoke type of environment. Data collection, a hub site with branch office again. And then data distribution, where what we're doing is we're taking a hub site, which is our central, and then pushing out the information to our other sites. Now, looking at the types of DFS namespaces, we have the domain-based namespace. Now, this is location is Active Directory, and it has a memory cache. Now, if we're in Windows Server 2008 mode, then it's up to 50,000 folders we'll be able to have as targets. Now the thing is availability is going to be hosted on multiple servers, and DFS replication is supported. Now we do have a standalone. Only thing is the availability is going to be based on the server cluster. So we're going to use failover clustering for a standalone. So domain-based is probably your best that you're going to use for your DFS namespace. So what are targets? Folders and folder targets. Well, folders are the primary elements of a namespace. You have at least one folder target. Just like in the example where we had a connection to London and one to New York. The folder targets include the shared folders. So it's going to be whack whack the server, whack the share. And the folders in the shared folder is going to be whack whack the server, whack the share, and then whack the folder. And a path to another namespace would be the domain name / the root name. So here an example. We have a namespace root, which is Contoso public. We have software, that is our folder. And then we have folder targets of tools and training guides. And these are actually located on the New York tools and also New York server 02 training. And then London, we have tools over here also. So these are what the folder targets are. So what are the name server requirements? Well, we have the namespace server, which is a domain controller or member server, the Windows Server 2003 or Server 2008. You have the namespace server. This must contain the NTFS volume to host the namespace. We can't use FAT or FAT32. Must be in the same domain in the namespace if it's a domain based, and cannot be a cluster resource if the namespace is domain based. So that means we can't use network load balancing, can't use failover clustering if we have a domain based namespace. Let's look at the requirements for DFSR. Remember, DFSR is the replication that we have for the DFS. So we need to ensure that the Active Directory schema has been extended. When we're extending a schema, what it does is it adds the classes and attributes that are associated with the actual Active Directory. And so with Windows Server 2008, we extend the schema. It's going to put the classes and attributes that are going to be available for DFSR. Replication groups are members that you must also create. These are going to be created on Windows Server 2008, but also in 2003 R2, they are available with DFSR. You need to contact your antivirus vendor and make sure that the DFSR replication is going to not cause a virus alert, because sometimes the DFSR can look like a virus and it could trigger an outbreak notification, which is not really. And it must be used within TFS. So managing DFSR, you edit the replication schedules or manually force replication. You can enable or disable replication, and we're going to show you all this in a demo. Enable or disable replication on a specific member of a replication group. We can change the size of the staging folders or conflict and deleted folders, which we're going to show you in the next demo. And specify the file types to be replicated. We can share a replicated folder, a network, or add the folder to a DFS namespace. These are the different things that we can do with DFSR. You specify and, if necessary, change the topology. With the topology, what we have is spoke, hub and spoke, and also we have hybrid. And so what we have to make a determination is which one we're going to use. Hub and spoke is only going to be available if you have 3 or more DFSR members of a replication group. So let's take a look at what are the things that we went over in this module. Well, we have DFS Namespace tool, allows you to group shared folders at different locations. You create a logical structure that users can view, and each namespace is a single shared folder. This can then have a series of subfolders. Provides fault tolerance to local shared folders when available. So DFS replication tool and the DFS console lets you manage the DFSR. Also this provides multi-master replication engine that synchronizes across several servers from LAN or WAN. And the changes that are replicated, only the changes are replicated with DFSR. Remember, it uses remote differential compression. Now let's take a look at the exam alert. DFS Namespaces distributes a namespace across several servers. DFSR ensures the target is up to date. DFSR is not used to distribute a namespace. You have to understand that. Do you have any questions or comments? You can put them in a GoGo box at the bottom of the video. Thanks for joining us.